Welcome to this edition of Sticks and Stones. It's really just stones today. I cannot do a pairing because I had a tooth extracted yesterday and I can't be doing any smoking. So I am just going to be watching the Arkansas game, Arkansas A&M game, because I had Arkansas on my mind because we are a minute and 10 seconds into the game. Arkansas has already scored. So I'm definitely going to be doing some drinking today. But anyway, the extraction is the first extraction I've ever had that was not baby tooth or wisdom tooth related. And I may have discussed it before, but I did two combat tours to Iraq and Afghanistan, actually Pakistan, but, who's counting, it's a stand. And I came back with a raging case of PTSD. In this particular tooth, I'd had it filled 20, 30 years ago, and back then they used silver. And so my dentist did a root canal on it and put one of those like ceramic crowns on it. But I clenched my teeth so much that I ended up fracturing the tooth. So they're going to extract it and put in a complete fake one, not one of them bridge things. Ugh, couldn't stand that. I got they extracted and put in a bone graft yesterday. A couple of months, I'll go back and they'll put a post in. A month or two after that, they'll put a solid fake tooth on top of it that will look just like any of my other teeth, except better. And I don't have anything to take in or out. So I do know a lady, a friend of mine, that she had all of hers done. Like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go that far. But it is definitely, my father had dentures. He had really bad teeth. And he had dentures when he was in his 30s or 40s. And I'm like, no, not doing that. Just not doing it. So, is what it is. Anyway, y'all want to hear about my dental problems? And I'm already disgruntled. Aggies, I can't believe they let that happen. Very first play from scrimmage, throws for a touchdown. Anyway, what I'm actually here today is to do with you all, as long as my camera battery, my phone battery keeps going, is I'm going to be doing a twofer pairing today. I can't just like drink whiskey all afternoon. I mean, I could, but then I wouldn't wake up till tomorrow afternoon. But as you know, I'm a big fan of Yinling. And Yinling has out, it is the time of year, even though it doesn't really look and feel like it in Texas. It is the time of year when over in the motherland in Germany is Oktoberfest. So I have some Yinling Oktoberfest in the Corona bucket full of ice. And I'm starting it off with Tula Bordeaux honey. I know, but it's going to be kind of a laid back afternoon. So I figure this is a pretty good deal. That's what I think. But we'll flip around over here and just see what else is going on. All right, I probably can't read it, but if by chance anybody does happen to make a comment, I should be able to see it, but I don't know. I've never been able to get this stuff to work exactly right, exactly the way I want it. But I don't really take a whole lot of time to learn it. So anyway, alcohol was not on the don't do this list for my dental thing. So, but it did specifically say don't be smoking. So Mrs. Sticks-n-Stonez is very much, as a teacher, a rule follower, especially when it comes to holy shit, already fourth down? Only 4 minutes into this. I don't know, I may need a bigger bottle. Anyway, so I have to follow the rules, and nothing was said about drinking alcohol. Just don't do it while you're taking medicine. So I ain't taking the medicine right now. I took one like 6 or 7 hours ago. Oh. We're off to a good start. I'll tell you a little more about it here in just a second. I'm gonna go ahead and glass a little bit up. Now you may think that's a little bit of a heavy pour, but as I get into this, you'll see. Now, screw top bottle. You know how I am about screw top bottles. I don't really like them, but you know. Anyway, so Tullamore honey, they were first launched in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Germany, Bulgaria, that whole area back in 2021, and has since expanded to the United States. It landed here bottled at 30% ABV, so 70 proof. So it is pretty light. It is technically a liqueur. So I know that's the cool robot thing. Yeah, and I am like way off the normal deal. I didn't bring out the little sound barrier. I didn't bring out the Yeti microphone. This is just the phone and my notes and my wireless microphone and my Texas Aggies along with the Stetson. Got to have the Stetson. Anyway, back to where I was at. It is technically a liqueur. Understand, but it is a whiskey. Now, it is Tully's original blend, pot still with malt and grain whiskeys, and they infuse that with a Bohemian honey. I don't remember exactly what Bohemian means, but in this instance, it is from Bohemian hives that are from the Czech Republic. And apparently, I hadn't heard this before, but apparently, it is some of the finest honey you'll ever have in the world. And that is according to the U.S. ambassador for Tullamore here in the U.S. I'm going to butcher this way up. Clodagh My O'Callaghan. Clodagh O'Callaghan. I know I got the O'Callaghan down right because I watched Tommy Boy. But I haven't been able to track down any contact information for her because I do like connecting to the ambassadors of as much as I can find the liquors and sticks that I pair because they do come in handy. So got to make friends. Anyway, so we are going to go ahead and get started here. Now, I've already glassed it. Now, they try to say that that's a mahogany. I don't see that as a mahogany. I see that as a golden oak or maybe a just ripened wheat field. But to me, mahogany should be much darker and almost, well, show off my A&M stuff, closer to a burgundy, but not quite. But that's definitely not it. I don't think so. So, I think a golden wheat field or golden oak would be the perfect way to describe it. Now, on the nose, man, when I opened that bottle, it just wafted out. I tell you what, this is one of the best spirits I've ever had on the nose. It's wonderful. You don't want to take your nose out of it. I get some very gentle spices. Nothing that you can really pick out for sure. Just a little spicy. Probably more along the lines of like a baking spice kind of thing, not peppery spice. There's just really wonderful, natural, like sweet notes. There's a little bit of boozy, but not a lot. It is 70 proof, but you do pick up just the ever slightest tinge of alcohol burn in your nose. Very light. Just maybe enough to make the little receptors in there go, ooh, hey, what's coming? Now, mostly what you get is a really good dose of honey, naturally, and a really nice notes of vanilla, and maybe even just a little bit of floral back in there too, which is kind of a, that's kind of the Irish whiskey thing. All right, now we're gonna take a bite. Hey, Arkansas is now having to kick off or punt. I mean, out of bounds about the 26-yard line. All right, maybe our offense will get on the field and we can get something started. All right, back to where I was. This is really like a sweet cocktail in a bottle. I don't know how much of that sound y'all can pick up, but I'll turn it down. I don't want to get any like copyright things or anything like that. I'm just here drinking whiskey and watching the ball game. The only real thing I had to compare this to in the same feel is Garrison Brothers Honeydew, and I think this is a mellower, sweeter version of the Honeydew if you've ever had that. And I reviewed that a couple of times, maybe once by itself, but I know a couple of times with Sticks, and it was more like honey with a little bit, bourbon with a little bit of honey drizzled in it, you know. And I think it was down around the 70%, but it was a little more whiskey than honey. The honey was more on the finish. But this, as a first sip, from the point of your tongue all the way down, it is honey. And I'm really thinking as I'm drinking it, as my nose will get some of the vapors, there's even more honey and more vanilla than I at first thought there was. The honey and the vanilla are kind of like 50-50. And then I know 50-50 plus something else in 100, but I get VA disability and their math is all messed up. But anyway, touchdown Aggies. All right. We are tied up. All right. It's gonna be a good day, Tater. This is soft. It is it's really sugary. But that also pretty much washes away basically any of the heat that comes from the 35% ABV. It is literally like a cocktail because, cocktail, unless they pour it really strong, it's the booze just kind of blends in with it, right? This is exactly the way this is, and there is nothing but whiskey in the bottle. It's just distilled with honey. But this does make it extremely easy to drink, and it is 70 proof. This is not like drinking a beer or something else, wine. This is a low-end, strength-wise whiskey, so you have to treat it as such. I've never reviewed, and I really should, because there was a great story with this, and that was the first time I ever had Firefly. You've never heard of Firefly? Firefly is a magical drink. The very first offering, and now this has sprung out to all the others, it's generally a vodka based, but they have started doing it with whiskey too. But Firefly is, it gets tea from the only tea plantation in the continental US, which is right outside Charleston, South Carolina. And they make tea infused vodka. Now, you may think, oh, okay, well, this is tea with some vodka in it. Well, no. It's vodka. It's the real deal. It just tastes like tea. And after I drank about a half a bottle of it, I realized, I need to be cutting this with something because I am And that was years ago. It was like 2009. I was down in Charleston. It's the first time I'd ever seen it. And now I keep a 1.75 liter in the outdoor refrigerator, the garage refrigerator, because Mrs. Sticks-n-Stonez and I, we love it. You know, out here at the pool in the summertime, it's nice and cool. Nothing better than iced tea in the summertime, right? So, but you do have to mix it. Mix it with tea. Yes, it is tea flavored, but you got to mix it. Otherwise, you're just drinking straight vodka. And they have a diet skinny tea vodka that has no carbs in it. And then we mix it with saying all these brand names, and I'm not getting any commission from any of them, but I drink almost exclusively Kroger brand, zero sugar, no caffeine iced tea. They sell it in gallon jugs, and I'll go through 3 jugs a week. That's what I typically mix it with. And Mrs. Sticks-n-Stonez has some sugar issues, so it's really good for her because, you know, it doesn't, there's no carbs in any of it. So, which I don't really see how they manage to do that. I'm going to have to figure out how they do that. I haven't been telling you really much of anything about this. Again, lots of honey, lots of vanilla, very sweet. And if I'm saying something sweet, you can pretty much take that to the bank. But it's not, I don't want to say subtle, because it's not like it creeps up on you or anything like that. But it's not really complex. You get vanilla, you get honey, you get vanilla, you get a little bit of florally in there. There's a little bit of like baking spice in the nose. I haven't really picked it up that much on the palate, but I am going to have to like settle down and really pay attention because I keep watching the TV. And if I scream touchdown Aggies, plug your ears up because I could get loud. All right, good job. Now, the finish is a really rich combination of whiskey and honey, and it gives you this, you know, sweet, warm, kind of mild to medium length finish. Honestly, this would be a really great spirit to put into like some sort of hot toddy in the wintertime, whether you wanted to brew some tea or, you know, like hot tea, or put it in some coffee, maybe even some hot chocolate. Hey, you know, you got, or hey, this would be a good one, you know, when you have baby, when they're teething, and rub a little bit of that on their teeth. They'll on their gum, and they'll go ahead and quiet right on down, I'm sure. So I'm not having any more babies, so I don't have to worry about trying that. Which is a good thing, because at my age I couldn't handle it. I think Tony Randall in the old Odd Couple, and I say, oh, you know how old I am. Odd Couple was like 60s, 70s show. I think he had his last child at 72. Dude, what were you thinking? Of course, he had money, so a little water. Got to stay hydrated. And if you're joining late, I'm not doing any smoking today because I had a tooth extraction. I'm getting a replacement permanent tooth in there. So they didn't say anything about not drinking. It just said no smoking. So Mama said no smoking. No smoking. Although she keeps asking, she goes, "Are you sure you're feeling okay?" And I'm like, I feel fine. I haven't had a pain yet. If you live in the DFW area and you ever have to have any dental surgery like that, OSANT Oral Surgery Associates of North Texas, OSAN. Dr. Newton is the only doctor or dentist that I've ever seen wears hospital scrubs and cowboy boots. And I knew it was going to be a good experience right then. And so I was in the dental chair yesterday, and I don't know, I was looking at something, and I think they had a screen on up in front of me, and they put the IV in, and then I see him put the little needle in there, and you see him pushing the stuff in there, and I had to have a wisdom tooth cut out, man, shit, 30 years ago, and it was my last one. And so they, put me under. And I remember when they did the IV thing, and they said, "All right, start counting back from 100." And I like remember 97 maybe. He didn't do any of that, but I was just sitting there for a few seconds, and I'm like, it's not exactly hitting me like I thought it would. The next thing I know, you're like, Mr. Elrod, come on, it's time to get up. And like an hour had gone by. I mean, I didn't even know when I passed out, and I have not I have yet to feel a pain. I took hydrocodone last night or yesterday afternoon, and then last night before bed, and then Mama made me take one this morning. But I haven't taken one. I'm due for one, but I wasn't gonna take one, and I don't really need to because I don't feel any pain. Like, why would I want to take a pain pill if I don't feel pain? So, anyway, and then on top of that, now the dentist I go to, he's also a really great guy, J. Kent Norwood. If you live in the North DFW area and you're looking for a good no-nonsense country like dentist, he's it. He's an Aggie. Giggle. And so we get to talk Aggie football when I go in. But the first few years I saw him, I think the furniture that he had out in the waiting room was like old furniture from his house. And he is like none of the newfangled technology, none of that. He's just kind of an old school dentist. And but he is a great guy, and he does great work, and he is definitely wrapped up in you being comfortable. So my wife, as much as I don't like dentists, she doesn't like them even more, and she likes it. So, but anyway, but like him, if he did something to me, I could see him possibly calling me the next day or that afternoon or whatever to see if everything's okay. But the oral surgeon called me personally yesterday afternoon. Say, I just want to make sure everything was okay. And they, oh man, everything was great. I couldn't believe he called me. You would think, oh, they had a dental assistant or something like that. Nope, you got the guy that did the work. So I was very pleased. So OSANT, just Google OSANT if you're in the North DFW area and you're looking for an oral surgeon. I'm telling you, I think now I'm just doing this neat, like I would normally do a review, but I think if you dropped a couple of ice cubes in this and was drinking it nice and chilled, it'd be really good. And this is going to be a tough afternoon. Arkansas is already back in scoring position. We're supposed to have the better defense, but I ain't seeing it yet. He's going in. Yeah. All right. A little more in. Well, I will say this. This is the last year for the Southwest Classic to be held at Jerry World. And for those of you that don't know, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys and the owner of Jerry World, he is a Arkansas alum, played football for him back in the 50s or 60s. So, I don't know what referees he's hired for this game, but anyway. But this is the last year it's going to be held there. From now on, it's going to be just like regular games. It's not going to be a neutral. They call this a neutral site. It's going to be back and forth between Fayetteville and College Station. Now, for those of you that don't know, I grew up in Arkansas. I'm not a lifelong Texan, although my mother said I've been telling her as far back as she can remember that I wanted to live in Texas. And I got down here as quick as I could. But it's a great place. I keep thinking if people in these other states don't start straightening up, and we're just going to drop the bridges over the Red River and kick everybody down in Austin and Houston out and put up a wall, instead of Trump's wall going between us and Mexico, it's going to go all the way around the state of Texas, and we'll just do it ourselves. Which, you know, we have like, it's like maybe in the top 10 in countries, and we're not a country as far as GDP, whatever they call it. Yeah, we do a lot more business than a lot of entire countries do here in Texas, and we got it all. I mean, think about it. Now we got Elon, so we not only have the stuff on the ground, we got space. Elon, he shooting rockets into space down at Padre Island constantly, and apparently can do it better than Boeing could do it, because we got astronauts. They went up for, I think they were going to be there for like 3 or 4 weeks, and now they're looking at 8 months because they can't get them back down. They're at the International Space Station, and they just took some stuff up too. And I'm like, why can't they come back on that? But apparently, I don't know. They just need to ask Elon for help. And that's one of the problems, is whatever spacesuits they were wearing were made by Boeing, and they don't work on anything other than a Boeing thing, rocket, whatever, transport. That would seem to me like that'd be something that would need to be universal. Your spacesuit should work anywhere. Because if I'm not mistaken, they're not like plugged up to anything while they're just going up and down. So why would they need to have a special spacesuit? I don't know. I'm not. My degrees are in law, emergency management, and accounting. I don't know anything about engineering. Elon, he did well. They just had 2 people that were not astronauts. He just shot 2 people up in space, and they did the first ever non-NASA astronaut spacewalk. So it's just regular folks. Like, well, I'd like to do that. Shoot me up into space. Let me do a spacewalk. That would make my millennium. No, I don't know if you saw the show or not, where Jeff Bezos, he now has space tourism, and so it's like $1 million a seat. You can go up and do a rotation around the Earth. You're in high Earth orbit. You're not completely like in space, but you're close. And once you get up there, you can get out of your seat, float around, and look out the windows and all that kind of stuff, and then you strap back in and come back down. And they took William Shatner up, and to me that was just really, really cool. William's got a lot to say. He's on all kinds of commercials. He's been on all kinds of TV shows other than Star Trek, and he was like speechless. He's like, I played the captain of a starship that rocketed all over the universe, and I never really thought I would ever get to see what it was like to be in space, and now I've done it, and I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I understand, man. I'd be the same way. It's like when I went to Alaska. Pictures do not do it justice. It doesn't matter how good a TV you have, 8K, 4K, whatever it is you got. Until you're there and you're seeing it with your own eyes, it's not the same. All right, for anybody that might have joined late, we're doing, I I can't smoke, so I have for the next few days because I had some dental work done. So I am pairing, not really pairing, I'm reviewing Tullamore honey. And as soon as I kind of finish off with this, I'm going to do Yinling Oktoberfest because I'm not going to sit and drink whiskey all afternoon, not unless it's a mixer. With this is close to a mixer. Now, Tullamore honey was first introduced into Europe, in Czech Republic, Slovakia, Germany, that area there, and it is made with Bohemian honey from Bohemian hives in the Czech Republic, which is supposed to be some of the best honey in the world. But I know that Texas wildflower honey is really, really good. It is 35% alcohol by volume, so 70 proof. And it is a liqueur. And you pretty much get a whole lot of sweet in honey and vanilla. You get a little bit of baking spice in the nose. And it's got a really nice, warm, mild to medium length finish that I think would really lend itself to like hot toddies in the wintertime, like some hot tea with this in it, and maybe a little bit of lemon in it. It'd be really good. Soothe that sore throat or whatever you got going on. Maybe even some peppermint tea if you're having some sinus problems. Put this in your peppermint tea. Be good to go. And one thing I haven't mentioned is price point. It is very easy on the budget. You're talking like a $30 a bottle kind of thing. And the only thing I really had to compare it to was Garrison Brothers Honeydew, which this is much milder and not as boozy as the Garrison Brothers Honeydew. And I love Garrison Brothers Honeydew, so I'm not trying to say it's anything wrong with that. You can take it whichever way you want it. The Garrison Brothers, the honey is really just on the finish. It does make it a little sweeter, but you're really only getting the honey on the finish. But this, from the first time it touches your nose, your tongue, it's silky and smooth. There's basically no alcohol burn, and it is just all vanilla and honey. And a little touch of floral. There's a little florally in there. So, Tullamore Dew, I think, is the second biggest distiller in Ireland. I know Jameson's is number one. Then you have Bushmills, which Bushmills has been around, I believe, the longest. It's from like the 1400s. I'm not as big a fan of Bushmills, although I do love their 10-year. Their 10-year is really good. I'm just not much of a fan of their base spirit. But the 10-year aged is really, really good if you want to try that. And it's not like this with any honey or anything. It's just straight Irish whiskey. I do like Irish whiskeys. I'm a sweeter kind of guy. I'm a sweetie. And I just tend to like whiskeys a little sweeter. That's why I'm not a huge fan of rye. It's only certain ryes that I really like because rye tends to be spicier, and that's just not my thing. So, and that's why I love bourbon so much. It's 51% corn. So, but this is a mix of their pot still, malt, and grain whiskeys with the Bohemian honey from the Czech Republic. And it is a dessert in a glass. It is really good, but I can tell you right now, if you are a whiskey purist, you will probably not like this. Whiskey purists can be a little bit, nothing wrong, but I am a much more open and diverse individual. And this, I had been trying to find this for a while, and then all of a sudden it pops up, and I'm like, hey, got to try it. And it's really good. but it is not complex. It is very straightforward. Um, Vanilla, honey, a little bit of floral. On the nose, vanilla, honey, a little bit of baking spice. Basically, just a little bit of burn in the nose, just enough to let you know it's there. And there is basically no whiskey burn, alcohol burn at all in the sip. And it does feel silky and smooth on the taste. And it does have, as you can imagine, because it's got honey mixed in it, so it probably is just a tad thicker. It has some absolutely great legs. If you're a leg man or woman, yeah, I think this over ice, or even like if you're wanting a cold cocktail, like this and lemonade, I think it'd be really great. I really do. And at 70 proof, you could drink quite a bit of this before you really started feeling any effects on it, because it's the alcohol content so much lower. Yeah, this, I don't know, this could even be sweeter than Akashi Ume. I know Akashi Ume is lower in proof. I think it's like a 60 or 62, somewhere around in there, 65, something like that. It wasn't 70. I'm almost positive. And it was really sweet because it was matured with sugar plums, some kind of sugar plums that they were aged with. And so it's really sweet, and it's a really good whiskey too. I know I'm going all around, but you know, since I'm not smoking, it's I have to fill the time with something. So, you know, try to bring in things that I think might be informative. That's all I'm doing this for, just entertainment and information. Matter of fact, I had a guy today. I forgot what. I wonder if it was a cigar or a spirit that he had, and it was one that I had reviewed like months and months ago. But I replied on his, when he posted his picture of it, and I'm like, yeah, that's really good. And I said, here's an episode where I paired it. You might be interested in watching it. I do that a lot just to get more people to watch or listen to the podcast. You gotta do it somehow. I figured out a while back that trying to pad your listeners with purchases were not doing any good. I also found out, and that's why I'm doing this more like casually as opposed to like hardcore, is I found out that all that BS they're talking about making money, being affiliate marketers and all this, that's a bunch of crap. I worked it pretty hard for like a year and a half. No. The only real success I've had is I actually sold like 7 of my Sticks-n-Stonez t-shirts from the my Amazon merch on demand site. That it's got the Sticks-n-Stonez logo up here where the pocket would be. And then on the back, it's got a desert camo soldier with Isaiah saying about who shall I send and who shall go for me and send me. I had like 7 of those sold in the last 6 or 8 weeks. So, hey, go out to Amazon and type in Sticks-n-Stonez, Stonez, and you'll find you will find the podcast because it's on Amazon. You can find it on the shopping app. And it's free. You don't even have to pay for it. What's better than free? So, but then you can see, you'll find my store there too. That is awfully good. Like I said, if you're a whiskey purist, you're probably not going to like it. But you might. You might like dessert enough that, this would be like really good with a dessert, like a nice piece of cake or maybe like a chocolate pie. Everybody likes pie, right? I like pie. Dude, you're up by 7 points. Stop complaining. Sip of water. Well, I said at the beginning of the year, ESPN, I don't know if it was which poll it was, the regular poll or the coaches poll, whatever. They had them ranked 16th in the country. And I was like, don't do that. Y'all do that every year. And we always end up disappointing that. And so I wasn't thinking they were the 16th best team in the country. And first game out. Now, I will say, you're taking on, they could have taken a patsy for the first game of the year, but they didn't. They took Notre Dame, who was 5th at the time, and lost. Dropped them out of the rankings. Now they came back to the 25th team, and now they're the 24th team, and they're probably looking like they're the 48th team. So, but it's Elko's first year. At least Connor Wigman is just sitting on the bench. I have not been hadn't been much a fan of his the entire time he's played. It seems like he's played forever, like 6 or 8 years, but I know he hasn't. He just seems that way. But I'm hoping for good things. I mean, anything's got to be better than the last 4 or 5 years, and we paid what's his name nearly $100 million to go away. So, all right, I'm gonna finish this off, and then we're going to move to the Yinling Oktoberfest. And unfortunately, I don't have any lederhosen or a little fedora that I can put on. Sorry. I am, like there's hardly anybody that's straight anything anymore. Everybody's been kind of mixed up. But my last name is Jeremy Elrod. When Johann Dieter Elrod came over in 1684, it was spelled Elroodt. And somewhere along the lines, they dropped the one O and the T, became Elrod. But yeah, he came over in 1684 and settled somewhere in Pennsylvania, and then moved to like North Carolina, and then descendants moved to Alabama. My great grandfather and his brother, add one more great, fought for the 31st Alabama Infantry in the Civil War. They fought all 4 years, mustered up in early 1861, 1,100 and something men. And at the end of the war, there were 119 original survivors. And my great-great-great-grandfather and his brother were 2 of them. They've been captured and released 4 times. And no, we didn't own slaves. We were dirt-ass poor sharecroppers. Unlike what the history books want to tell you today, most of the folks that fought on the southern side were not fighting to keep slavery. Most of them didn't own slaves. Less than 20% of the population owned slaves. It was a horrible stain on our history, don't get me wrong. But the truth has been whitewashed over, pardon the pun, for it to be something that if the Civil War was a people say the North against the South, which was technically true, but it was really a geopolitical war between the Republican Party, which was predominantly in the North, and the Democratic Party, which was predominantly in the South. But there were some of each in the other place. It's like, and I'm trailing off again. It's like if you are watching Saving Private Ryan, and during the movie it shifts over to Washington, and General what's his name is saying that we're going to bring Ryan back. He reads a letter from Miss Bixby, or from Lincoln to Miss Bixby in Massachusetts, and talks about her losing 5 sons on the field of battle. Well, she didn't really take too kindly to his letter because she was a Southern sympathizer. So, it was a very mixed up time, and like I said, it was a stain on the country. But there was so much more involved in it than just that one thing. Most of the foot soldiers in the South were fighting for freedom to choose the life that they wanted to live. For them back then, because if you think about it, most people never traveled any more than 10 or 20 miles away from home, where they were raised. So for them to have a government in Washington, D.C., if you lived in Louisiana, that government might as well be the King of England over in England, because you were never going to get to Washington. And so they really felt like it was, somebody's trying to tell them what to do that has nothing to do with, their life. I just wish that things wouldn't get so painted over, to get rid of the whitewash thing. It's so painted over to be just about the one thing, because it really wasn't. I've written a book about the illustrious yet short career of Thomas Stonewall Jackson. It is in proofreading and editing. Hopefully it will be published soon. I'd love for all of you to buy it and read it. It's not one of those big thick novels. It's less than 100 pages, but it kind of gives you his early life, and then going to West Point, and then he had a fairly short military career before he joined the Confederacy. And he and Lee both, they did not join the Confederacy because they supported slavery. General Lee even said, when he was offered the commanding generalship of the Army of the Potomac as the war was getting ready to start, and he said, I never thought the day would come that I would have to fight against my own country, but I can never raise my sword to Virginia, because back then you were a state citizen first and a federal citizen second. And that was his whole thinking. And Jackson, they cannot find, and trust me, I tried in researching the book, there is little to nothing said about that he said one way or the other about slavery. Now, he owned slaves, 6 to 12, something like that. But he was given some of them as a dowry to marry his wife. That was back in the dowry days. So they were gifted to him. And then he purchased several others at their request. I'm not lying about that. There were several that he bought at their request. Seems kind of weird, doesn't it? But it was because he had set up, much to the consternation of many of the people in his community, a Sunday school class for slaves, and he would teach them on Sundays. And the regular folks didn't like that, but that's what he felt compelled to do. And there were several slaves that asked if he would purchase them because they thought he would be a much better master than wherever they might get sent to, whatever, rice field or cotton field or whatever. So it wasn't because he wanted to own slaves, but but that's the nuances that have been lost in history. Uh, anyway, I've talked about that enough. I've already lost somebody. Tullamore. It's definitely worth a try. Very silky and smooth. There's basically no alcohol burn on the tongue. There's a little bitty tiny bit of alcohol burn in the nose, both the nose and the palate. Lots of honey, lots of vanilla. It is very sweet. It's only 70 proof. It's great straight. I think it'd be really good over ice, and I think it'd make an excellent mixer, even in hot drinks like tea. All right. A lot of honey on the retro inhaler. That's the first time I really, as I swallowed that sip, I breathed out through my nose, and yeah, lots of honey on the nose. I couldn't really pick up anything else other than honey and vanilla. It is not complex. Very straightforward. It is what it is. What it says it is. Good water. Now, Oktoberfest. Meine Deutsche nicht so gut, aber verstanden. My German is not very good, but it is kind of understandable, and generally revolves around where's the train station at? Where's the bathroom at? Where's this street at? I took German in college because I wanted to know some of my ancestral, which is far down in the ice, my ancestral language, because we here in America, as far as the regular everyday folks, we don't know really the language of our home country from centuries ago, unless it was England. And really, I will say Southern is much closer to England English than the rest of the country is. I saw this on a documentary one time, and they were looking at the correlation between some of the words, and you're like, you know what? That's right. That's weird. All right. Oktoberfest. We've got a little bottle of water on the, not on the keyboard, but on the little right there before it. This is a classic Marzen style beer. Yinling is from Pennsylvania. They launched the Oktoberfest expression about 2011, so about 15 years ago, 14 years ago, something like that. It's only available during this wonderful holiday season of Oktoberfest. If you ever get a chance to go, you should. But as forgiving as Germans are, like me and my terrible German, if you're trying to speak their language, man, they love you. They want to help you. They want to help you pronounce the words. They want to help you get where you're going. It's a very welcoming people, but they probably will not say yes if you say, "Can I sit at your table?" in Oktoberfest. No. Yeah, they are about their drinking. Now, this is brewed with a blend of Tettnang and Hallertau hops. It is kind of a traditional copper lager. Oh, I was looking down, didn't see what happened. Looks like we just intercepted or picked up a fumble or something. All right, I'm gonna have to use this up here. All right. Sadie's gonna love me later. The Sticks-n-Stonez mascot. All right, Arkansas was back at their own 5. and ball comes loose, and Aggies drop on it at the 10-yard line. 10 yards to score. We're about to tie this thing up. All right. Very copper lager. Even though it was just a little bit that I poured in there, got a really nice head to it. I'm not much on reviewing beer because I don't really do that. I drink beer, but I've started drinking beer more since I've been in Texas. It's just, I used to, when I was younger, I didn't really like it. I just didn't like it. And I still don't like real hoppy beer. It's kind of bitter to me. But you can kind of taste some of the pretzel-y kind of brown bread kind of overtones. If you ever get a chance to go to Epcot Center, the German little area back there, they got some really great beer. You can go and have some really great German food. I know, like, England is not really known for their food. Touchdown Aggies. I haven't been able to say that in a little while. Marcel Reed, true freshman quarterback. I don't need anybody else. I'll take care of it myself. It's got a very kind of like chewy aspect to it, real malty, which I prefer over the hops. I do pick up maybe kind of a slight, maybe kind of lemon zest to it. Yeah, the hops is really subdued on this one. There's a little bit of hops bitterness at the end, but not a lot, which I like. Now, this is not a light or an ultralight or anything like that, so it's not good for your waistline. I'll have to fit this into my calories for the day, which after having the tooth done, I hadn't had to worry about too much. My little app on my phone allows me to have 2,700 a day, and I think yesterday I had like 700. So I slept most of the day from the anesthesia. And there does seem to be a little bit of like spiced apple or apple strudel kind of emerging, just kind of giving it just that, little bit of maybe kind of holiday, wintry kind of spirit. And it does work really well with this darker lager. I drink Yinling Flight. I do drink Yinling Light, but I actually love the Flight, which is an ultralight, like Michelob Ultra. Because it's probably one of the best ultralights I've ever had, and I, try to watch the sugar and the carbs and that kind of stuff. And I think it's really good. To me, it has more flavor than a lot of the other ultralights. They're just like watery beer. But then I do drink some Yinling Light. I try not to do a lot of full-bodied, full strength beers. I did like Dos Equis Lime and Salt. I like those. Those are really good. As I said, I have a very diverse palate. But Yinling Oktoberfest. It's a kind of a classic Marzen style beer in the great German beer making tradition. I am going to make it to Oktoberfest. I'm pretty sure that Mrs. Sticks-n-Stonez is going to make that happen because she knows how much I've been to Germany a couple of times. I got to stay in Germany for a little while for one of my trips overseas in the war. But I've never got to go as a tourist. It's always been with the military. So, I didn't get to see nearly as much as I'd like to see. But I've never been to Berlin, but from my German class in college, he's like, Berlin, there's a lot of good stuff to see, but if you really want to experience the people, you need to go to southern Berlin, which is both times I've been over there. That's where I was. And been to Frankfurt, been to Kaiserslautern, been to Heidelberg. I loved Heidelberg. Heidelberg is a beautiful country, beautiful part of the country. It was in March, so it's still cold, and went to the Heidelberg Castle, which is, I don't know, like 800 years old or something like that. It's just a beautiful, beautiful area. And other than their politics, you know how I am with the beach, and that's about as far from the beach as you can get. But I am kind of the polar opposites. I love the beach, but I love the mountains. And there's mountains and snow and all that down in the southern area there. So, and almost had another interception. We need to score another one before halftime. Now, back to the Oktoberfest. This is it's a fairly complex beer. Like I said, I'm not a beer reviewer, so it's hard for me to try and transition the whiskey to the beer thing. But if you are not if you're like me and you don't really like hops, the hops bitterness, I think this is a good beer for you. It's still got a little bit of bitterness, but it's not a lot. And there's some beers that I try and I'm like, I just can't take that. That is way too bitter for me. And it's Oktoberfest. You got to drink beer during Oktoberfest, right? This is a good one if you can get it. It only started being available here in Texas just a couple of years ago. And so I was very happy because I have a condo down in Florida, just west of where Hurricane Helene came ashore. So we didn't really get any damage. We were okay. But I am trying to sell it if anybody's interested. So shoot me a DM if you're interested. It is up for sale. I got an agent down there. I'll put you in contact. But anyway, so when I would go down to the condo, we typically drove. We had smaller kids at the time, and you don't try. I mean, flying's great, but when you're trying to fly 5 people, it gets expensive. So we would drive, and we would leave at like 7 o'clock at night, so we missed the Dallas traffic, and then we'd get down there about 7 o'clock in the morning, so we would miss the Mobile Bay Tunnel traffic, which is just as bad. And but I'll always bring back a case or two of Yinling. Yes, I was trucking Yinling the opposite way. They could have made another movie about it. Smokey and the Bandito. But other than, like I like Shock Tops, and they don't do a light beer. And I really like, this is another American beer that's really made in a lot of the German style, but then they also branch out into other things. That is Leinenkugel. I like Leinenkugel's beer. I really like their, I hadn't had it so long, I can't remember what it's called, but it's something like blackberries. And I love that stuff. It's really good. And that's not a seasonal, it's all year round. But my go-to right now, if you look in the refrigerator right now, I've got Corona Light, because everybody drinks Corona Light. And then I've got Yinling Light, Yinling Light, Oktoberfest, and then I have a few Dos Equis lime and salts. And summer's over, so, But this beer is, again, it's a seasonal. It's 5.45% alcohol by volume, so 10.9 proof. Uh, it is, I think I paid about 16 or so dollars for a 12 pack. So it's not really expensive. It's not going to be, it's probably not going to be what you're paying for, Bud Light. But to me, it's worth it. And Yinling, if you didn't know, is the oldest distillery, or not distillery, brewery in the U.S. It is. Go look it up. A lot of people think about Anheuser-Busch, because Bud Light's been so dominant for so many years. But yeah, Yinling's been at it longer. And I may be pronouncing it wrong. That's the way I pronounce it, Yinling. When I first ever heard about it, I was like, Chinese beer? But no. It's right in the German style. And it is very good. I don't get anything for propping Yinling beer. I'd like to, but I don't. But you can go to yinling.com and find out where you can get it in your area if you can. YUENGLING.com. And I would give this beer, I give it an A minus. I think it's really good. It's not real hoppy. It's got some really nice chewy, bread doughy, malty, pretzel, German brown bread kind of heft to it. But it's really easy drinking. And it really does, it's made for Oktoberfest, and it really does kind of capture that spirit, it's really good. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not a big beer drinker. I've tried their Hershey's Stout, and after you all have listened to all of me talk about how great the Tullamore honey was, I will tell you that I liked the Hershey Stout that they made, but it was a little too much for me. Yeah, it was. I could drink one, but it's not like you could go out back with a bucket full of Hershey Stouts and drink them. Bucket. I got 2 of those. Down again. We may end up getting another touchdown before this is all over with. I'd love to go into halftime up 7. That is definitely a really good beer, but it is fully loaded, so it's a little heavier. If you're a person that drinks light or ultra light, it is kind of a transition. But if you want to really experience Oktoberfest, that's what you got to do. I would. All right, we got a good punt too on the 46-yard line. We should be able to at least get in the field goal range in 6 minutes, I would think. So Marcel Reed he's a true freshman, and he has been starting since the second game of the year. And they keep saying Connor Wigman's going to be back next week, but he doesn't make it. And quite honestly, why change what's working? Good Lord. And this is working so far. So this Arkansas game, it doesn't matter how good or bad Texas A&M is. It doesn't matter how good or bad Arkansas is. This game is one of the toughest games of the season every year. The Southwest Classic has been going on for I don't know how long. I mean, back when A&M and Arkansas were in the SWAC, the Southwest Athletic Conference. And there's probably a lot of you that don't even remember that conference. But there's a history between Arkansas and A&M. And these guys may not remember that time, but it's still just as much of a rivalry today as it was back then. And it's a great game. No matter who wins or loses, I can say that. If Arkansas wins, hey, props to you. It's a good game. I said maybe we get a field goal before halftime, but I don't know. So far, we've had one incomplete and one run for like 4 yards, and we're already on third down. So we'll see. But I don't want to hold up all of your afternoon. And I know you probably really don't care about hearing the highlights of the Arkansas A&M game. Just know that the Tullamore is really good. It is a liqueur. It's not a straight whiskey. It's not very. It's not very. Not very strong. Not very stout at 70 proof. But it is very good. You can drink it straight. You can put it over ice. You can mix it in some sort of cocktail. Like I said earlier, lemonade, it would probably go really well with tea. If you want to make a hot tea, or put it in iced tea. Yeah, I think it'd work any of those ways. It is very versatile. But if you are a whiskey purist, and good God, we're already having a punt. I told you, this is a tough game. The Oktoberfest is a very good beer. Really good. Probably, other than Shock Top, the only fully loaded, that's what I call it, fully loaded beer on the market that I'll drink. Everything else I'll drink will be lighter ultralight. I know the beer purists will be like, but trying to watch the figures. I've lost 60 pounds in the last 18 months, and I've been doing a pretty good job of keeping it off. So, the defensive back, it bounced off his helmet. He could have had an interception right there. Yeah. And he did have his hands up in the dude's face, in the Arkansas player's face. I'll admit it. He did. And like pushing his head back right up in his face. So, anyway, great beer. A to A-, Tullamore Dew, B+. I'm not even going to try to do the 100 whiskey stone thing. It is just really good. Tullamore Dew is, I think it's probably highly underrated as a Irish whiskey. So, definitely try some. This bottle was a 375 milliliter bottle, so you don't have to commit to a full fifth. And it is something, hey, whiskey doesn't go bad. So it's something you could, we could have had a safety right there. All right. Anyway, I'll let y'all get back to your day. Go Aggies.